rolling tumors to roaring lampooners, the Tigers on a Roll show starts in 3, 2, 1.
All right, Tigers fans, welcome back to another episode of Tigers on a Roll. We will be talking about the Missouri-Auburn matchup this weekend and previewing some of, if not all of, the SEC games this weekend. I realize now that I missed one of the better games of last weekend in terms of rivalries, the Red River rivalry. Missed that one. So we'll try to get to all of the SEC games this weekend. In the meantime, Week 8 of the SEC football schedule presents a critical point for several programs, none more so than the Auburn Tigers. Auburn enters this weekend against number 16 Missouri with a 3-3 record, 0-3 in the SEC, trying to break that three-game losing streak. And conversely, the number 16 Missouri Tigers seek a win to maintain relevance following their recent loss to Alabama, putting them at 5-1. This is Missouri's first road game of the season. Auburn is dragging along a brutal stretch of ranked opponents, including Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Georgia, and the current 3-3 record provides absolutely zero margin for error moving forward. I was supposed to have a guest today, and unfortunately, we enjoyed a couple libations, and he will not be joining. So we are going to have some rhetorical questions for everyone tonight. And one of those being, do you think that this is going to be a defensive bout for 60 minutes? Or do you see this one being pretty competitive? My initial take early in the week was that I thought that this was probably going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight between the two defenses. But as time goes on, and as an Auburn fan, consuming a lot of Auburn media, I think that this one might be competitive. We still have not passed the eye test, so I'm not totally sure about that one. I would love to see us turn the corner and put on a productive offense in tandem with our pretty incredible defense. I'm just not sure if that's going to happen this weekend. And I would love to have gotten his take on it. What we will do is we will have a follow-up episode on Sunday, debriefing all of that, rehashing it, and hopefully looking back at a Saturday that was rewarding for the Tigers. But let me know in the comments, did you think that this is going to be a defensive bout for 60 minutes, or did you think that this one was going to be an offensive showing and competitive by the Tigers? Now, and let's go with this too. We're going to call Missouri, and we're going to call Auburn the Tigers, because obviously on Saturday the Tigers win, no matter how you slice that. Right now the spread narrowly favors the Missouri Tigers, and is right now over under a pretty low point total on the 43.5. And I'd say that Vegas is taking into account, one, Auburn's persistent liabilities on the offensive line, Jackson Arnold hesitating to do absolutely anything with the ball, and the lack of their air attack, being present whatsoever in the last basically 6 to 7 quarters of football, depending on how you look at it. And Missouri certainly had their success in the run game and getting to their opposing QBs, which I think Vegas is definitely taken into account on this one. Auburn theoretically should have a touchdown favorite at home, but they are currently, I believe, 1.5 point underdogs. That line was formerly favoring Auburn. At some point went to 3.5, and the latest data I've seen on it was a 1.5 point spread. And the stakes for Auburn, no matter what the spread is, are high regarding just the overall program stability. This would be a fourth loss before the month of November and would be the last straw for the fan base and the frustrated players in the locker room for sure, as you saw on Monday with Damari Alston. But the game features two mobile quarterbacks. Auburn's Jackson Arnold compiled so far 983 passing yards, 64% completion rate, no turnovers, five touchdowns. And these statistics suggest certainly a quarterback who struggles to push the ball vertically, and that is underlined by their 7-yard per pass average. That is just not going to do it with how I phrased it in a pod earlier in the week. The Lamborghinis that we have on the outside, Jackson Arnold being a QB in this offense, I don't think is the best use of any of the tools that we have. But his mobility, is supposed to be central to Auburn's offense. And with 83 carries for 247 and 6 rushing touchdowns, which, by the way, is a career high in a year, he's only averaged 3 yards per carry. And Auburn's offense is fundamentally compromised if any of the opposing defenses are able to successfully contain Arnold as a running threat. And if Jackson cannot stretch the field with the wideouts that we do have, or extend plays with his legs, or gain meaningful yards, regularly on the design runs that he does have, this is certainly going to be a long night for the Tigers. And on the other side of the ball, Prabula has been pressed into a starting role after Sam Horn suffered his season-ending injury, and he also possesses some mobility. He actually filled in as kind of a change of pace quarterback with some mobility over at Penn State when he was there, and he adds another dimension of Missouri's run-first offense. And the single most consequential determinant of this game's outcome is definitely the line of scrimmage. Auburn has had its offensive line struggles, and Missouri has excelled with getting QB pressures and some stud defensive linemen that they have. So offensively, Auburn's line has led the nations in the worst stat that you could, which is sacks allowed, having yielded 21 sacks across just the 5 games that they have played, outside of Baylor. And that is about 4 sacks per contest, which is just absolutely unacceptable, especially now that we're in SEC play. And when Jackson is unable to operate cleanly, our offense stalls catastrophically. We saw that against UGA. We saw that against A&M, Oklahoma to some extent. And I don't know if y'all remember this far back. It was only a couple weeks ago, but the South Alabama game, we were horrendous in the second half. And this is not going to be an easy matchup to any extent, with Missouri's defensive unit ranking 6th nationally in third down conversion percentage allowed at just under 60%. We are back from our TV timeout. And I will say, going back to the third down conversion percentage allowed by Missouri is some of the best in the NCAA. They have a defensive lineman who is first in QB pressures and another one that is tied for second. And they are stout on the defensive line. Auburn's run defense is also incredible. They are an elite unit, and they rank second among all FBS teams in yards per carry allowed and rush success rate allowed. The defensive strength is the primary factor preventing the betting spread from expanding further against the Auburn Tigers. Absolutely true. Missouri's injury list consists of one offensive guard, Logan Reichert, who's questionable to play his first game this season, and their kicker is just out for the year. Tore his ACL on a kickoff. That's it. Auburn, on the other hand, will be without Horatio Fields, Darrell Robinson, potentially Brandon Frazier with a back injury, and Bryce Dees with a concussion. Champ Anthony may play. Now, Auburn having a comparatively worse injury outlook in this game, whether it be at home or not, doesn't really matter. We are missing some key pieces in the back of Auburn's DB room and in the backfield, which, you would have had that tight end, Brandon Frazier, run blocking and pass blocking in lieu of Damari Alston, who exited the program this week. Southern Bandit in the chat. I will get to the chances, actually. We are going to do a segment on what our betting odds look like against the spread and outright winners and the thoughts. Thank you for asking. If you missed him at the top of the episode, my thoughts on Jackson Arnold right now is he has an inability to stretch the field. He cannot hit a deep ball. He's averaging 7 yards per attempt, and even worse, as a dual threat quarterback, he is looking at something at 3 yards average per carry. Absolutely terrible. Whether or not the sacks are taken into account for his rush yardage is abysmal, and that is why he is ranked outside of the top 100 in every QB stat there is, and he is basically dead last in the SEC across the board, and that is why Auburn, in my opinion, is in the position that is in now. Auburn being in the position that they're in now, though, brings me to our newest Friday segment. We're going to have 3 hot takes, and like I said at the top of the hour, we were going to have a guest today, and I wanted his takes on this as well. But I've got 3 takes for everyone in the chat, and we will go with that segment right now. Hot take number 1. Hugh Freeze will not step down or be fired before Thanksgiving. As everyone knows, Thanksgiving is rivalry week for the Auburn Tigers, and they will be playing Alabama in the Iron Bowl. That take, I'm basing that's solely off of Hugh Freeze's relationship with the boosters and John Cohen as the AD. I think a loss to Missouri will not be the ultimate organizational breakdown period of Hugh Freeze's tenure at Auburn. Following this defeat, if there is a defeat, Freeze will sustain his tenure and certainly have increased a toxic environment that will flood the facility. There's no question about that. 3-4 on the year, 0-4 in the SEC. I still don't think will be enough for a changing of the guard. I don't think so, and that is strictly because I think that there are people, the bag holders, believe in Hugh Freeze, and Hugh Freeze, as we know, can sell ice to an Eskimo. And I think he is recruiting players in the same way that he is convincing the board of trustees and the athletic department that he is safe and that he will turn the corner. He thinks he's close. We look close when you look at it on paper, but this game is not played on paper. It's played on grass, and we do not look good on the field. Hot take number 2. The offensive line will not allow a single sack against Missouri. Pretty crazy. That is certainly a hot take. Contrary to all statistical evidence, Auburn leading the nation with 21 sacks allowed in 5 games. This offensive line will experience a profound psychological and execution reset this week. This unit will hold Missouri's front 7 sackless for the entire game, allowing Jackson to register his first 300-yard passing game of his career as a result of the clean pockets he will see in Jordan-Hare Stadium on Saturday night. A miraculous performance will certainly immediately shift the fan narrative from a coaching crisis to a coaching masterclass in one evening, fueling the belief that Auburn can win out the rest of the season. Because if you've been tuned in to the pods for the last couple days, we are still staring right now 9-3 in the face. 8-4 potentially could be a baseline for this Auburn Tigers team, whether or not they started this season out very mediocre. And hot take number 3, exact opposite of take 2, Jackson Arnold may not be an improved quarterback. And if he isn't, he will lose his spot at the top of the depth chart, and he will suffer an emotionally crushing performance against Missouri's efficient defense, leading directly to a loss that will eliminate Auburn from bowl contention potentially. And it will definitely lead to Arnold losing his spot as the QB1. He will not have an ability to elevate the offense beyond the offensive line failures and the inability to stretch the field, and it will convince the staff after years of recruiting hype for the 5-star QB that his future as an elite quarterback cannot be realized at Auburn or anywhere in the SEC. And I think he will be replaced by a combination of Ashton Daniels and Deuce Knight, and Jackson would ultimately enter the transfer portal at the end of the season and let those Deuce Knight, especially as a young fella, take the reins of this Auburn offense and potentially the future of whatever it is that Hugh Freeze's tenure looks like at Auburn. Let's get some engagement in the chat here. Odds for Auburn to beat Bama in 2025. Thank you, Hardy Beats, for dropping some questions in the chat. Odds for Auburn to beat Bama in 2025. Now, I don't know if you want straight up Vegas odds, but I don't think the odds look too good. I think Auburn right now is on a decline. Alabama has righted their ship after their struggles with FSU early. They've got a quarterback who is in Heisman contention. Anything could happen in the Iron Bowl and Jordan-Hare, but right now I don't think the odds look too good for Bama. Southern Bandit, I definitely do not want to bring Gus back. No shot. I think that there is never a benefit of getting back with your ex, and Gus Malzahn had his run with his relationship with this team. He absolutely is not the answer for Auburn's woes, and I would not bring him back. It was not a timeout. No question about that. If you watch the replay of Kirby Smart running on the sidelines, that is a classic timeout signal, and he is yelling the words time, time, time. He was absolutely calling a timeout, and that was just another blunder on the reffing front for SEC officials in Auburn games this year. I absolutely agree with you that Arnold can certainly get himself in a position to get sacked. That is why that is a hot take. Maybe the offensive line keeps him clean. Maybe they don't. And I will say this. I once had a coach who said sacks are not the responsibility of the offensive line. Sacks are on the quarterback. And it is rung true this year. Jackson Arnold holds on the ball far too long. And maybe that hot take comes to fruition, but I highly doubt it, which is, again, why it's a hot take. But Jackson Arnold will certainly have a dirty jersey on Saturday. And if he does, I do not think Auburn can pull this game off. If he doesn't, like I said in the third hot take, I think Deuce takes the reins of this offense at some point before the end of the season. Hardy Beats in the chat. I don't think that Auburn's loss to Oklahoma was on freeze, and I hate to say that, but Auburn's loss to Oklahoma was certainly a product of the environment and the officiating. Although, if you are running an offense that you think is one of the most prolific in the nation, you should have to, or you should be able to play over and above the expectations of the fan base and not worry about the opposing defense or obviously the officiating. And we will get to the rest of the questions. We're going to start charging these for super chats. We will get to the rest of the questions in a second. I've got to bring up my notes here, my handy dandy notebook. Last week on SEC predictions, we are in the betting segment, and we do not take spreads. We only take outright winners. Last week, I had a dub on Alabama, dub on Ole Miss, dub on the Volunteer game, dub on A&M, dub on LSU, and dub on UGA. I have been 10-0 this year on guessing games, and unfortunately, and I don't know how I did it, I missed the Red River rivalry, did not pick that. I will say this, I would have picked Oklahoma, and they messed the bed on that one. That was embarrassing. John Mateer did not look like who he was. He looked like he hadn't practiced in 3 weeks, and that was buns. But go back and watch last Thursday's pod. Those picks are on the stream, and you can double check me on that one. I am undefeated, and we are getting into SEC matchup predictions right now. We have got LSU at Vandy at noon tomorrow. Vanderbilt is a 2.5-point favorite. Right now, I am taking Vandy at home. I don't think that Vanderbilt has an exceptional home field advantage or anything like that. I think Garrett Nussmeier is a flop. This year, he does not look good. He is not leading an offense worth a dime. And LSU will not be able to solve their volatile offensive situation this week. I am taking Vandy and that absolute tool at quarterback to win this game at home and bring some glory to the Commodores. Next up on the docket at 12:45 tomorrow afternoon, we have got Oklahoma in Columbia at South Carolina. The Sooners defense, they are consistent, and they will be the difference in this game. It is a day game at Williams-Brice, which won't have the same juice as a night game. And no matter how Mateer plays, I think this week OU can and will win this game. So you can take my word on that one. Oklahoma as an outright winner. Ole Miss at Georgia at 3:30 p.m. I think Lane sucks on the road, and they almost lost to Wazoo at home, which I thought that they were going to be a safe 4-score favorite last week. Almost loses to Wazoo at home. Lane has not proved it on the road in the SEC in his career, and I think Georgia will control this one from start to finish against Ole Miss in Athens. We have got A&M same time, kicking off at 3:30 at Arkansas. Arkansas is under an interim head coach right now. I am taking A&M. I thought A&M absolutely shut down Auburn. I think that they have been a championship contending team, and the 6-0 Texas A&M Aggies will win outright against the 2-4 Arkansas squad. Getting into the afternoon slate of games on this one, Mississippi State at Florida in the Swamp at 4:15. I am taking Florida to win this game. They are a 9.5-point favorite at home. I think Napier rallies just like he did last year late in the season yet again and will pull off a home win against a fledgling Mississippi State team and try to delay further rumors of his firing and Florida participating in this coaching carousel like it seems every other school is on the brink of. We have got a 7 p.m. kick, Texas at Kentucky. There's not much to be said about this one. Texas will beat up on one of the worst Kentucky squads we have ever seen. Texas is a 12.5-point favorite. That is at home in Austin. And Texas will certainly dominate this one. You can jot it down. Texas is absolutely winning this one. There is almost no question about that. And that brings us to our game of the week. Missouri comes to Auburn in Jordan-Hare, 7:45 Eastern kick. Auburn is a 1.5-point dog. I love my Auburn Tigers. There's no question about that. I wish them nothing but the best. The biggest issue right now is Can Auburn get it done? Can Auburn put 4 quarters of football together? I have not seen it yet. Auburn has never looked this bad. Auburn has never started SEC play 0-3. Certainly not 0-4. And this team under Hugh Freeze does not have the dog in them. And you can prove me wrong on Saturday. If anyone on the Auburn football team is listening to this, I hope Hugh Freeze is listening to this. Prove me wrong. Because I would love to see it. If we win this game on Saturday, we are going to be able to accomplish what we set out to at the beginning of the season, which is an 8-4 season, minimum. You can do that. But in this matchup, I think Auburn is going to be backed up behind the sticks all night long. I do not think they're going to be able to stop Mizzou's front. I think they stall again in the second half, and they will not be able to outlast yet another SEC opponent. They just can't do it. The defense cannot hold up. The defense is elite, but they are not elite to the sense that they can play basically 60 minutes a game hard. Auburn loses this game after a couple of big runs by Missouri's backfield late in the game to put it away. I'm taking Missouri to win this and our pain to continue. We could lose this game by 3 scores if we can't handle the time of possession and capitalize on the opportunities that are presented to us. And, throw in a couple bogus calls from the refs. And, this one will look, just like every game in the last month has for Auburn. I'm taking Missouri to win this game at Auburn, as much as that hurts me to do. I have not seen it from the Auburn Tigers. I think that this loss is going to be the nail in the coffin probably for Hugh Freeze's tenure. I still don't think that he is fired during the season. I do not think if he loses this game, we have any chance of winning against Vandy or Bama or, potentially even Arkansas, and we're looking at a losing season again. They're going to say he's not the man for the job. We're going to lose a lot of the studs that we have been able to stack on these recruiting classes the last couple of years. I think the next year and the year after that, I think that recruiting class falls apart. Like, this is a do or die moment for Hugh Freeze. And I do not think that he has the ability to put a game plan together. Forget about just in the fourth quarter, like in the second half. And if they go out there and they score less than 17 points, you might as well go make a tea time for every Saturday for the next 4 weeks, because Auburn is just not going to be able to get this done. So I'm taking Missouri on this game. And, I hope all the fans that do show up to Jordan here on Saturday have a great time. And I hope with all my heart that Auburn is able to win this game, but I don't see it happening. I think that Eli Drinkowitz has got Missouri in a great spot. And, he's definitely on the coaching board for a lot of schools right now, that have coaches on the hot seat. And, I think his boys want it a lot more than ours do. And I hate to say it, but we're fielding a team of a bunch of overpaid prima donnas right now. And, those kids just, maybe they do want it. Maybe I'm seeing something different, but, there's no telling right now. So the hope is that Auburn can make a homestand and take down the Missouri Tigers on tomorrow night. But, ooh, boy, that's going to be a tall task. We haven't seen it done yet. And that's going to put a wrap on the SEC predictions for Tigers on a Roll. And we will get down here to the chat again. Like I said, we're seriously considering putting these up for super chats. See if we can't pay the light bill with these studio lights right here with some of these chats. We're going to go up to we're going to go to bowl predictions. I saw earlier today whether or not it was a joke that Auburn could potentially play Duke in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. I think that is probably too good of a bowl game for the Auburn Tigers right now. I would be surprised if we got anything better than the Music City or the Birmingham, if we were even able to finish at 500. We set ourselves up nicely with the first win against Baylor and then beaten up on the cupcakes a little bit. But I do not think we go to a bowl that is worth the money that it would pay us, especially if we are just prolonging Freeze's career. I am never going to be the guy that calls for a coach at Auburn to be fired, but I will say If it's looking bleak, then those are just the circumstances. And we may be playing a bowl game with DJ Durkin as the head coach, interim. Who knows? I am absolutely not taking James Franklin seriously as a coaching candidate. James Franklin was never able to win the big one at Penn State. I was not convinced that he could recruit elite players outside of people that were already in the Northeast that wanted to go to Penn State. Obviously, he had Saquon. They have had a dual rushing attack, two-headed monster in the backfield. Obviously, Auburn fans and Auburn has always prided itself on their run game. I don't think that's the future of college football. I think that it's obviously something to supplement and open up the pass game. I don't think James Franklin has the juice. I definitely do not want James Franklin to be the next head coach at Auburn. I think we have better opportunities with people that are more familiar with the South. I don't think that Hugh Freeze is going to have a controversy. I think that Hugh Freeze has leaned into his brother Hugh era hard after his allegations at Ole Miss and their debacle with having to forfeit, I think it was 27 wins at Ole Miss during his tenure for the text messages and whatnot that he was involved in. I don't think that he is a controversy in 2025. I will say, though, if they really want him out, that Hugh Freeze could potentially be caught up in a rumor mill that he has no idea he's caught up in, and that will ultimately be his demise because they were going to they are potentially going to manufacture something to just kind of, destroy his reputation, which, by the way, if you ask any average Auburn fan, I think that Auburn right now is 50-50 on that hire anyway. I think that there's a lot of people out there that may think that they have higher moral standards than other people, and they hated Hugh Freeze since the day he got here. And then there's other people that wanted to give him a chance, maybe say, oh, he's a good ball coach. Jury is definitely still out on being a good ball coach, but, whether or not there needs to be some sort of controversy cooked up, people think that Hugh Freeze has a predisposition to getting himself in those positions anyway. So only time will tell. Kirby Smart, here, this is a great question. I wish I could bring it up on screen. Who wins in the Oklahoma drill, Hugh Freeze or Kirby Smart? Fun fact for everybody out there watching that doesn't know this. Hugh Freeze never played football. Hugh Freeze was a JUCO baseball player. His dad was a football coach, and he learned from him. And Hugh Freeze perfected the RPO tempo offense. How about that? Kirby Smart played DB at Georgia. Kirby Smart wins the Oklahoma drill 8 days a week. And Kirby Smart, by the way, has bigger man titties. So Kirby Smart's going to take him down just by pure size anyway these days, let alone for the football knowledge. So that's my take on that one. We've got who's got a better hairline under the headset, Saban, Kirby, or Hugh? I think Hugh does. I like the visor. I like the visor vibes that Hugh has. Kirby Smart wears the tour visor, which is pretty dope. But they all got straight hair. I mean, they all look the same in some visors. We'll never say anything good about Nick Saban other than he was probably the best coach to ever do it. But forget Alabama. Kirby Smart, cheating ass. Nothing good to say about Kirby Smart. I'm going to take Hugh Freeze all day with his, his his visor and his big face, let's call it. How about that? I'm going to take my head coach in that matchup. I think that he's got the better hairline and he's got a better visor game. How about that? Oh, let's see. Thank you for everybody participating in the chat. These are great questions. I would rather try to tackle Derrick Henry than get tackled by Ray Lewis. I would rather win the Natty on a kick six than beat Bama 63-0 because that means we won a championship. Thank you for that question. That should be self-explanatory. I can imagine that's a classic line by what was that, UAB? UAH maybe? I forget. Yeah, classic. I'd rather win a Natty than beat Bama in a year, but you gotta do it. You gotta do them both in one season. And Hugh Freeze's DoorDash order after a tough loss hopefully is There's probably some holy water. He needs to get hydrated and probably say some prayers because he needs to figure out how to do it. But I'm not going to speculate as to what he is up to. My man, Coach Hugh Freeze, has had some health issues this year, and I am hoping that he's not door dashing and he has a good home cooked meal with him and his family. And if Bo Jackson played in today's NIL era, how many commercials would he be in? Well, if you're a ball knower, you know that Bo Jackson was in a bunch of commercials. That was after his time in college, obviously, but that harkens back to his baseball football crossover Nike campaign, and obviously he has his own trainers and everything like that. I would say that Bo Jackson probably shows up in almost every commercial in the Southeast, especially with Auburn connections, as could be possible. So that's my take on that. I think Bo Jackson would be the highest paid player in the NIL era. You look at what Bijan Robinson did with Bijan's Dijon. I don't know what Bo Jangles probably bring him in like they did with Bo Nix, but Bo Jackson probably makes a pretty penny in the NIL era. And would I rather eat Jordan hair nachos or use a porta potty after Tiger Walk? Here's a secret for you. Go into the Coliseum. They got cleaner bathrooms than the porta potty does. And I don't eat nachos at football games. I eat hot dogs, baby. Hot dogs, lemonade, and beer if possible. So that's my order on a game day. You won't find me getting nacho cheese fingers in Jordan hair on a 95-degree day. That's for sure. And the very last question in the chat today. Do you think Hugh Freeze texts Belichick's girlfriend for recruiting advice? I think if anyone had Belichick's girlfriend on staff, that they would probably be using her as a tool to get some recruits that were interested in the same. I think that if you saw the segment the other day, Belichick was breaking down for her what their defensive scheme was. And you know what? To her credit, she seemed like she was taking it well and that she digested it and that she could probably implement the defense if you really asked her to. So, if Auburn gets into a tough spot, they might as well tap her to be the next offensive coordinator because she seems to be picking up a lot for him. I said it earlier today watching this UNC game. There ain't no way that this game hasn't passed over Bill Belichick. So I'll tell you what, I don't think him or his son are fit to be coaching in 2025, but maybe his girlfriend has a future in it. So with that said, I got a couple Auburn helmets in here. Thank you guys for commenting in the chat. I got a couple Auburn helmets in here. I will not be putting them on. We're sticking with the classic hat. I've had this hat for like 15 years, and I love it. Wore it out tonight. It's a Friday night. We are game day eve and got some War Eagles over here prior to heading up and watching the Tigers play. The Tigers, and I hope the Tigers win this weekend. Take that for what it's worth. But with that being said, War Eagle, and we will check back in after this game. I'm hoping the Auburn Tigers football team can get on a roll. But in the meantime, you guys all stay on a roll. Thanks for watching. Tigers on a roll.